Good morning, friends and neighbors and loved ones. This is Steve Sparks with another edition of Celebrating Democracy. And as a reminder, I'm doing these video clips each day from Veterans Day to Pearl Harbor Day. And my goal is to share uh, uh, what we were going through around the time of World War II and what our parents experienced. And we're talking about thousands of military families and soldiers and Navy and Army. We were all engaged in World War II and protecting our freedoms around the world. And this morning, I'll get right to it. I want to share what I wrote as I thought about my mother. Back then, after my father had left for sea duty on the USS West Virginia, sailing over to the Hawaiian Islands and living through the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. So I'll read, and I quote, "In the fall of 1942, Marcella was holding her firstborn son, Jerry, in her arms as she attended Mass at St. Matthew's in Long Beach, California. Marcella prayed every day since her husband Vernon survived the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. At this moment in church, she held her rosary tightly and prayed for her husband Vernon to return home. Vernon was assigned to the Harbor Patrol shortly after the bombing of the U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet by the Japanese Navy. He patrolled the coast of Oahu looking for Japanese subs. Marcella returned home from church that day. Soon after she and Jerry returned home to their apartment on Lime Street in Long Beach, there was a knock at the door. Marcella hesitated while holding Jerry, who was just 1 year old. Marcella woke up each day dreading the knock at the door. Too many of her Navy wife friends she got to know lost their husbands in the Pacific War. Jerry was a healthy and happy baby. He felt loved and secure with his mom. They were close. It was a painful time for thousands of Navy and Marine spouses and moms waiting for their husbands to return home from the war. There was little or no communications at the time. Letters and cards would come from Vernon each week. She so looked forward to reading how Jerry's pop was doing. She prayed every day that he would return home safely to see how much his son had grown. Marcella finally got up enough nerve and strength to get up from the couch and go to the front door. She was reading cards and letters and showing photos of Jerry's pop. She wanted to prepare Jerry to meet his father for the first time. She opened the front door slowly with her heart pounding and tears in her eyes, expecting bad news. What she saw was not a man in uniform. It was the Western Union man. "Thank you, God," she said, because she knew that Vernon was coming home. So after Marcella sat down on the couch, she took the telegram out of the envelope, looked at Jerry with tears and loves in her eyes, and held him closely. She yelled out with joy and more tears when she read out loud so Jerry could hear, "Your daddy is coming home. Vernon is coming home. He is coming home, my son." So on that day, Marcella started packing up and planning her next move to San Francisco to meet Vernon on his arrival. Little did she know that Vernon would sail off again to a secret mission in the Pacific. Vernon's next ship duty would be the newly commissioned USS Belgrove LSD-2. Marcella felt so much empathy and compassion for her dear friends during that time. They were all going through the same emotional pain 24/7 for weeks and months, waiting for news that their loved ones would return. The knock at the door came all too often for so many of her friends and neighbors in Long Beach. She even said goodbye to many Japanese friends who were taken from their homes and taken to the intern camps for the duration of the war. Marcella never understood this. Her friends were Americans just like her. Why, she said. And all these decades later, Japanese intern camps represent a stain on America's soul. We will never, ever do that again. So I leave you with that, something to think about, something to talk to your loved ones and neighbors and friends about what was happening at that time so long ago, and hopefully it will somehow connect all of us to democracy and what it looked like, fighting for our freedoms all around the world. My father, your grandfathers, and today, fathers and more grandfathers fighting wars to protect our freedom. For me, that's what democracy looks like. It looks like all of us fighting for democracy, freedom, all of us together. So I'll let you go. See you next time.